I constantly learn this, that you just keep pushing, you just keep doing, and if this is not working, then do this. You know, course correct. Don't just keep doing it and, oh no, I'm just gonna go down the same road and I'm gonna have mistake after mistake. No, the mistake will make you steer the ship in the right way. And then enjoy that journey, and knowing that it's hard. And you know, when you are moving towards the top of the mountain, oh yeah, I'm there. Oh damn, it wasn't the mountain, it was just a little top. There's another one there, and then you just keep going. And you just keep going, and you enjoy the journey, because it's not a destination. It really is not a destination. It is the journey of creation.
Let's just start talking a little bit about embedded finance, and let's just start with the basics. What's embedded finance, and why is it why is there so much attention to the term at the moment?
I think, Chris, embedded finance as a term has been around for a while, albeit for the few, I guess. It's I think technology is just moving so fast that it is quite clear that the way embedded finance generally works in situations you haven't thought about really works from a technology point of view right now. So let's just exemplify it. So you're checking out, you're renting a car, you're signing up for a little piece of insurance on the car, and you haven't really noted that this little embedded finance or embedded insurance, it's the same thing, was there on the checkout form. Here's a price, yeah, it's good. Tick, 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 and it's done. Or you're checking out and there's maybe a pay later functionality. It might be from Klarna, it might be for someone else, you're not really thinking about it. It's just that it is so easy today to do this thing. So embedded finance basically means it moves it away from a situation to a something that you do on an everyday basis. So it's unobtrusive, it's very easy, it helps you. It doesn't take you away from what you are doing. You can just continue doing what you're doing. You might be in a flow, you might be going somewhere, and it just happens, and you are just facilitating, and you're transacting. You maybe get money, you might get insurance, whatever. So embedded finance is like the phrase of a very easy situational finance situation that is then extracted there and then, giving you great value as the user. Or you have a choice. You always have a choice whether you want to use it or not. So moving away from destination to a situation, that's really what embedded finance is all about.
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, it's unlikely that the end user will ever think, oh, I'm going to be using embedded finance. It's more that it's going to be there invisibly, making their life more convenient, and it's just a term that defines the technology.
Spot on.
All right.
Spot on. It is like, oh, I'm going to go to the bank today to do the following. I mean, that's kind of done, you know, we don't do that any longer. And that means you're not thinking about it. It's like it pops up because it would have read your situation, hopefully the right way, that you are actually going to need this at this stage. And here's the offer. And an offer in a very unobtrusive way. So you haven't really thought about it, but we kind of anticipated that there was a need, and here's an offer. And then you have a choice whether you use it or not. So that could be finance, it could be larger purchases. It's like, you know, you might be shopping for a house. You know, you might say, I'm gonna go and do some open houses on a Sunday. And maybe something around the house purchase is then embedded in situations because we now know that you are doing this. So it's not like the pop-ups of old days where you just got all these annoying offers and stuff like that. It's literally saying, okay, we know that you are going to look for a house in whatever, Snekkersten up in North Zealand or in Holbæk or whatever. Here is something that might be relevant for this area because you are looking at this. So it's like super relevant, super situational, and it's like unobtrusive. It's just there, you can just dismiss it if you don't want to use it. So just simple, you know, nice in a way that, you know, it's there when I need it, and one day that's probably going to be an assistant in embedded finance. There might be an assistant associated with it that knows what you want to do with it. And then the interaction with that you might actually outsource that to your personal assistant. That's, we can see you need the following things. And you have now given permission to another part of you to do that for you. Unobtrusive, simple.
Given the fact that there's so many clear and obvious benefits to embedded finance, in your view, what does it need for it to go from being an emerging trend to becoming a mainstream trend in financial services?
Well, trends obviously start somewhere, and then they are trending. And I think we are in the trending phase. Gartner has this classical curve,
hype cycle,
and we are probably moving up the hype cycle at this stage, for sure. But what we are seeing is that you need to kind of go to this like mass, so to speak. You need a critical mass to get it like fully embedded, so to speak, in the population at large. I think what we are seeing now is that we are seeing, especially from the consumer side, that maybe on the checkout side when you're buying things, that is, that's not even a trend any longer. That's just there. You have a choice when you're checking out whether how you want to buy. Do you want to pay it now? Do you want to pay it later? And that is, I don't know any site that is not having it. So you can say that's already happened from an embedded finance perspective. What we at Moneyflow is doing is we're doing it for the B2B sector, and it's a bit newer. In all fairness, consumers definitely adopted the embedded finance much quicker than the businesses because it wasn't really there.
Yeah.
We were probably one of the first in Denmark that did it for invoice financing, for revenue funding, for like creating liquidity for small businesses inside ERP platforms. But now we are seeing a lot of these platforms coming to us and say, oh, you have these, we've seen these great little embedded finance widgets, couldn't we use this for our, let's say, workflows and others? So I think a year, maybe 2 years, you're going to see a situation where it is just there. It's just part of the course of doing business as a choice. It could be faster, it could be a little bit slower, but it's definitely in the next couple of years. You will see the same maturity as you're seeing in the consumer market. 100% sure.
Okay.
And then obviously go to the Far East. I mean, it's already happening.
Right.
It's just everywhere. I mean, I would say, where is it not?
Yeah.
I mean, it's on watches. It's on, you're walking past a dispenser and hey, would you like this? Because last time you had this drink, and here's an offer on the drink, and you just swipe your watch and it's done. Money has been transacted. You finance. I mean, you have pay later, buy now, when you're checking out buying a pizza. But it's like, because it's just so normal, isn't it? It's just everywhere. But businesses take a little bit longer for maturity, but a couple of years, it would be as normal as anything.
And do you think there's any challenges for embedded finance to properly pick up in let's say, Europe and in the West? Perhaps that might not exist, or that the Eastern markets have already gone through?
It is interesting to see that, you saw, for example, mobile payments, in very new platforms in Africa, taking off so fast because there was no legacy. There was none, there was no systems, there was nothing, which means that they leapfrog certain technologies because there was nothing they had to kind of change. They could just jump straight into. The same with the Far East. There was a lot of newness to the technology, and there was nothing to consider in the past that they could just move straight into, let's say, a payment system. They don't have to look at the old banking, clearing banks and stuff like that. They don't have to do things the old way. Europe is catching on pretty fast. If you have asked me that question 12 months ago, I think I would have been a bit more hesitant and said, there is a lot of legacy, it is actually moving quite slow. The Nordic is different because we are very, very digitalized. I mean, we sometimes forget how much digitalized we are in the Nordic versus other European countries. But what I'm seeing in Europe, and especially in Northern Europe, is that it's catching up really fast. And COVID obviously has been an accelerator for this kind of digitalization. So I think things are moving pretty fast. And even with legacy systems, they are jumping into this kind of new ways of doing things because you can't stop it. That's the thing, isn't it? It is just happening, and you have to accept that. Some say, join the bandwagon or something, but it is a technology that is just happening, and it's happening, you can see it's happening, and you have a choice. Do you want to be a part of it, or do you want to wait and see? And I think a lot of legacy companies, a year ago and say, we'll just wait and see, and now they're starting. We have banks coming to us now, saying, "Ooh, can you do this for us?" Banks, yeah, well, we're competing against you. Yeah, that's fine, because obviously, with our legacy system, we know we can't do it, so therefore we're going to jump several technologies ahead and say, we actually like this, and we will find a way to distribute it, and then maybe we can just do something in the background, and you do the embedded finance widget in whatever shape and form. And that's a very interesting ways of how that cycle is changing, is that they're saying, well, actually, in fact, we could help the banks getting a much sleeker way of distributing, let's face it, their money. Right. Because what is it really banks do? I mean, in one shape and form, they provide a card and accounts and some money provision. That's really what a bank does, and it's a trusted place. So I think it's a super interesting time to be in, because all these trends we saw, they are converging now, and they are accelerating. So I just think I'm glad that we were so stubborn 3 years ago when people just said, you guys are nuts. Well, what are you talking about? No one's going to do this. It will happen. It's only a question about time.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating how the market dynamics have changed from a push model in which you had startups like yourselves trying to push a concept. Well, now it's almost the demand for the concept has already proven the concept itself, right? So let's talk a little bit about Moneyflow now. So what is Moneyflow?
So Moneyflow is an embedded finance specialist. We create small widgets, literally small widgets that are providing finance to businesses in platforms they are using on an everyday basis. So you could be inside an invoice, a business owner creating an invoice, and it would literally say, would you like this invoice to be paid now? You don't have to wait 30 days, or 60 days, or 90 days. Or it can sit inside, let's say, your subscription platform where you're managing all your subscription, you're a SaaS business maybe. And it can say, would you like as a company to have some of your future revenues paid out now? Because again, we can see the streams of money, and we can then just package it and say, paying some of that money now. So Moneyflow is an embedded finance specialist working with platforms, servicing the platform's customers across Denmark and Sweden and the other Nordic countries, and moving into Europe pretty fast. So, I mean, if you had to just do the little tagline, we get people paid. That's kind of what we're saying. An embedded finance specialist, we get people paid in an unobtrusive, simple, elegant, fast way.
Okay.
And affordable.
And affordable as well. All right. So then what I want to try to understand is, what is it about? I mean, we're here in your beautiful offices. We can see that it doesn't look like a traditional financial service office. It's very cool. It's got the beams and it's this converted space. So what is it about Moneyflow, perhaps its culture, its people, that distinguishes it from other similar value propositions in the market?
A great question, Chris. I mean, we're humble people. We're very Scandinavian. We believe in the family. We believe in diversity. We believe in having fun when you work. We take what we do very seriously. We don't take ourselves very seriously. We love what we do. We're very curious as people. We want this space to be friendly and inviting. And you see lots of plants, the animals, the dogs. And people bring their spouses in or their girlfriends and whatever, is that we want this just to be like an extension of who you are, and you work, and you can work from home, you can come in here. So it's like a hub, isn't it? It's a hub of creativity. We also have respect for the old structures. We are in an old building. In actual fact, my dad used to work in this building. This is really, really bizarre. He's, sadly, he's no longer. He was a market marketing boss at the Danske Spritfabrikker, or the Danish distillers that used to own these buildings. So it was kind of like a bit fun when this space came up and said, oh my God, this is my dad's old offices. Trust me, they did not look like this when he worked here. But it's, we are just trying to be a friendly face to financial services. Because financial services, we all need it. It's a part of our everyday life. We can't not deal with it. But I want it to be friendly. I find very few banks and others and insurance companies, it's heavy. It's like, it's difficult. It's cumbersome. It's like, why? Why not be like nimble, smart, modern, innovative, friendly, family-oriented type things? And that's really what we try to do as a business. We want people really wanting to come to work, or work from home.
Right.
Don't have to go to work. So.
Tell us a little bit about what are the main challenges that Moneyflow is finding in the market at the moment, and what are your plans for the next, let's say, 2 to 3 years?
So Moneyflow's main challenge is obviously we're building everything from scratch, and that means there's a lot of like trials and errors. You have to experiment a lot. So you have to be super, everyone talks about building and developing things in an agile way. But it really just means that you have to be super nimble, and you have to move really fast, and you have to experiment, and you have to have really short feedback loops. So I think time is a challenge, isn't it? Because while we are also building new business model in the market, so it's not just technology, but also new business model we have to convince people about. It is holding all these parts together, which obviously, me and the management team and the team itself is to making sure that all these parts are moving at the same pace. It's definitely a challenge. It's a managed challenge. It's a human challenge. It's a resource challenge. Even though we are a great place to work and it's relatively easy to find smart and good people to join us, we are constantly recruiting. We have, I think, 10 to 12 new developers that we want to take on board, and we can only get them so fast. So the challenge is just making sure that all these pieces are moving in the same pace.
Right.
And they never do, obviously, because that's life. Make sure that that's not stressful, to make sure that everyone understands that that's normal in startup life. And, don't get stressed out about it, take a deep breath, and I do a lot of walks and talks with people just to say, hey, this is fine, been there, seen it, it has to go wrong for us to truly learn. I want a lot of mistakes. And then we just reflect on them. So, okay, what was it that worked? What wasn't that doesn't work? It's like with kids, isn't it? They learn through mistakes constantly. And businesses should literally embrace mistakes. I say, come on, bring me the mistakes of today. What have we learned? What went wrong? Because that is how you anchor learning. There's nothing better than that. And you don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of the mistakes. Don't be afraid of the failures, because these are the best learning money you can have as an entrepreneur. And
All right, I think that's a really interesting perspective, and I want to ask you. So traditionally, the financial services has been the culture in financial services is radically different to what you're describing here. There's you don't roll out things unless they're absolutely perfect. You have very long development cycles. There's a culture of we do everything inside because we want to keep tight control of everything. So when you describe the culture of Moneyflow, you're almost defining an entirely different worldview.
Yes.
Does that make it difficult to collaborate with banks and just to see eye to eye when you're trying to work with them?
Great question, and obviously it does make it harder. There's no doubt about it. You saw that spot on, because obviously we also have to bridge let's say the old world to the new world. So we don't see banks as at our adversary. They're our friends. We need to work with banks. It makes a lot of sense, and sometimes you have to do a lot of translation. I think that's really the way to describe it. We have to translate what we're doing into how they maybe understand it. Sometimes we have to translate maybe our business concept into how they see the world in order to do that. But I think that's also something about getting a very experienced management team together. So we have a team that also come from and let's say the older financial services world. So we understand, we've been there. We do understand what they are facing. And it doesn't mean that they don't understand it. It just means they have some structures that they have to work within. And we have some other structures that are moving super fast, and they are not always comfortable with it. You know, some of their innovation people, yeah, bring it on, we love it, and then their credit people say, oh yeah, but you know, really slow. So you constantly have to maneuver this around and create, let's say, I call them translation pieces, so they understand and get comfortable. So, oh yeah, but that's fine, because they actually do like this, which is kind of the old way. So we have these like, pockets of the old world, even in our systems, where we say, well, you know, this bank wants to understand our world this way and translate our data that way for them to understand and respect that. So, because this is how you bridge the chasm between the two, you know, and say, well, this is how you bring it all on. And yeah, it means a bit of extra work from us, and sometimes say, come on guys, don't you get it? You know, yeah, of course you do, and that's normal. But we also respect and accept and want them to come with us on this journey. You know, this is, I think, also the way a whole society evolves, isn't it? You just say, oh yeah, the banks, they're dead, you know, they're not going to survive the future, and therefore not. We will only do this. I don't believe in that. I think it's just a question about time. Most will survive, most will change, and a few will not survive. And that's just how you do it. So, one word, lots of translation.
Right, well, that's great. I want to keep talking about Moneyflow, but let's talk about Moneyflow from the entrepreneurial perspective. The first question, what drove you to found Moneyflow?
Great question, Chris. I'm an entrepreneur of heart. You know, I've been working within my own business for many years. My other business, you know, which I sold quite a few years ago, also helped, albeit a bit more old-fashioned. I literally started that business when the internet just took off.
Right.
And the question that investors were having is that we think this internet thing maybe is going to be a thing. All right, that's really when I started my first financial services business. Again, had the same conversation. What is this? How is that? Is it going to change? Is it just a fad? Etc. So I've been through these kind of like journeys many times. So I've been through helping small businesses with liquidity and kind of running their business for the last 20 years. And I said like 4 years ago when I came back to Denmark, I lived in London for many years. I came back to be in Denmark because of my mom, you know, my only child. She was getting old. My kids were old. They wanted to come to Copenhagen to study. So I said, perfect, I'll come back to Copenhagen. I'll start my business here instead of London, with a view to doing what I used to do, but in a really smart way. Because I wanted to help small businesses with liquidity, because I knew that was one of the biggest problems in growing a business, is that you are in a constant cash crunch, right? But I wanted to do it in a way where I kind of say, what technology is out there? What simple, elegant way can you do this so you don't really have to apply for something or fill in things, you know? And I thought, okay, I'm an accountant of background. I understand accounting system. That's where all the data sits. There's a bank over here, they're trying to do this. What if you take, and then obviously with my kids, I was constantly on messengers and all these things, and said, I saw the WhatsApp doing, you know, things. And why can't we do that inside an ERP system, but with financial services? And it was literally connecting these things that, what if you could embed it? And then I didn't think embedded finance. What if you could embed it into some workflows? And I was looking around who's doing what, and there wasn't really anything, but obviously buy now, pay later was happening. I said, that's the thing, isn't it? It is that kind of functionality, not the product, but that kind of functionality at these flows that makes a lot of sense. And it was just a lot of trial and errors, a lot of design, thinking about where does it sit logically, pitching it to a couple of potential partners, and then saying, could this work? And then, you know, them being really intrigued, not really sure what it was. And it just all came together. It was just like, it was a lot of thinking, you know. I read a lot, I study a lot every day, and it was just, you know, seeing these dots kind of forming out there, saying, what if you take that one and kind of put it over there, and you have the ERP system, and you have the invoice, factoring. that's an old-fashioned type product. Oh, well, what if you modernized it, and then that would be the carrier of this embedded finance? And it was literally like that. It started to materialize in my mind, and got some great guys on board that could design and stuff, like, because I'm very visual in the way I see things, see the world. And it just condensed into this little widget. And that became it, the widget, or as René, my CTO, says, the world's most expensive real estate. We have created this little widget that just goes everywhere. And that is the window into our very technical business in the background. But that is the window to the world. It's just this tiny little widget that can be used in different situations. It could be square, it could be oval, it could be round, but it can interact with shitloads of data in the background. Fantastic. Oh, I love that. I mean, when you do these things and you put it all together, it's fantastic. And we do this all the time. You can see the walls here. We're constantly thinking about the world in new ways and how to put these things together. So it was just, it wasn't the epiphany. It was literally slow putting the bricks together in a way that, hadn't really been, not really been done before. Elements of it was there, but it wasn't there. And we changed it a million times, by the way.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
But I find that so fascinating that, as you say, you have a widget.
Yeah.
As simple as a widget. It's a window to an entire world of complexity that is handled by technology, so it's just being presented as a widget.
And what is so simple?
That's amazing.
One line, you could get this now. Stop. No more. That's it.
One button. Press it. There you
Slide.
go. Even nicer.
And
smoother.
Obviously, slide. Who materialized that died in everyone's mind? Mobile pay, right? Mm-hmm. Slide the pay. Slide to pay. But that's it. And it's that simplicity. I am a sucker for simplicity. I think it's really what makes the world tick. I can't do the complicated things.
Yeah.
I get really bored.
Yeah.
So it had to be super simple. 2-step onboarding when you do it. That's it. Everyone looks, how can you do AML, KYC? So we have just thought long and hard about how to do it, Yeah.
That's so cool. It's the fact that your product is actually a reflection of your own personality and your own. I think that's a really nice way of looking at it.
What didn't Steve Jobs? Simplicity is the most advanced sophistication, isn't it?
It's true.
And it's so hard.
Of course, yeah.
It is so hard. It's like saying, write what you want to say, but do it in 2 lines. People are struggling because we can't do it simple.
Right.
Our brains are too complex.
But that's really where the thought goes into, right? The more simple you can make something, the more that's really hard thinking went into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell us a little bit more about what's the success or the achievement that you're most proud of when it comes to Moneyflow?
I mean, we've had a lot of like wins, you kind of call them. I think moments. I mean, when we won the digital, design awards, for let's say startup award. I mean, that was super proud. That was this summer. Obviously, because it's kind of like everyone else is voting about Moneyflow. I think doing the partnerships that we have managed to do really early on in our journey, them believing in our vision and taking their platforms and saying, okay, we will run with this together with you because you clearly have the power of conviction of where this is going, and we can feel it and we sense it and we want to do it with you guys. That was hard work, and it materialized and it worked, and believing in that. So, and the team just tirelessly, working for that to happen. And I think, when the first, so that was these 2 things, and the third thing was when the first major international partner called us. We did not go out and pitch. They called us and said, we've heard about Moneyflow. That's really cool what you guys are doing. Can you do this with us? And right now, so we will also be coming to the world of challenger banks on a big scale. It's something we're working on right now. Can't say what it is, but it is very cool. It is exactly what we're doing, but in the banking world, right? Challenger banks or neobanks, call them what you want, on an international scale. Literally saying, we heard about you, we can see what you're doing, it's really cool, we would love to do that with you guys inside our platform. And it's that kind of stuff. Then you know that you're onto something. You know, you've done something which is right. That was that call was yes. You know, it's just then you know that what you're doing is right, and no advertising, no nothing. It's just that from the great minds and partnership, they've heard these things. So that was super nice.
I think perhaps the majority of people who have a job, it's probably difficult for them to actually understand just what it takes for an entrepreneur especially for an entrepreneur that is having a vision, to go and evangelize an entire industry and get support for something that they see is coming but that has not yet been proven. I think that just the amount of influence and conviction that must be behind that to actually get people behind you, it's really quite a success. It's quite a feat to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot, you know, I talk to my partner a lot about this obviously. She's the CEO of a big business, you know, she has a job, a very, very powerful job, lots of employees, and she just say, I can't see you being nothing else but an entrepreneur because you have so much tenacity, you know, you just don't give up. And it's like, I was I moved home when I was 17, I was struggling to pay my rent, you know, I was still studying, I was working at night. Then I started working for Anderson. Was it now I'm going to do a full-time job? I'm going to do all my studying at the evenings, or did my bachelor degrees in the evenings. I've always been used to hard work because I enjoyed it. Not because it was hard work, but just because I enjoyed it. And then knowing, you know, from my granddad was an entrepreneur. He had many businesses. He literally, I think he retired when he was 86 or something like that. He always did stuff, right? So I kind of, you know, when we were in the shed with him and he was talking about some business or we were building stuff, he never threw things out. He was always repurposing things. And he was like saying, you know, whatever you do in life, Kim Ulf, is that you always have to rejig things. There's always another purpose for moving one thing into another stage. And it was kind of like, I constantly learned this, that you just keep pushing, you just keep doing, and if this is not working, then do this. You know, course correct. Don't just keep doing it and, I'm just going to go down the same road and I'm going to have mistake after mistake. No, the mistake will make you steer the ship in the right way and then enjoy that journey. And knowing that it's hard, and you know, when you are moving towards the top of the mountain, I'm there. Damn, it wasn't the mountain, it was just a little top. There's another one there. And then you just keep going. And you just keep going. And you enjoy the journey. Because it's not a destination. It really is not a destination. It is the journey of creation. And the real truth to all of my story, when I got my job at Arthur Andersen, I called my mom and said, hey, I got a job at Arthur Andersen. And she was so quiet. I said, what? Are they not the accountants? Yeah. I thought you wanted to be an architect. And you know, because I'm also super creative, you know, I paint, I play the piano, I do drawings. I love the creation. And I think that's also part of the entrepreneurship, isn't it? Is that you are a creator. You want to create stuff. Not for the sake of it, but when I talk about the business model and how to put things together, you are creating a mental image of what it is. And that image is out there. And you have to be, you know, I mean, if you're a crazy architect, I would imagine Bjarke Ingels at Big, you know, the first time he was selling some of his crazy shit, the guys were just saying, can't you just build me a house, you know? No, because, you know, no, I can't. This is what I'm going to build you. I don't want to build you a house. I want to do this. And then you just constantly, you know, you just keep massaging your message until you kind of find a way to make it happen. And you just have to have no ego, because obviously you're going to get so many dents. So if you were an ego-driven person, you would be dented and dented and dented, and you couldn't hack it. You just have to say, oh, right, okay, brush it off. We have this saying at home. We just do this.
Right.
Then Andreas, she just knows, okay, yeah. Brush it off, doesn't matter.
I'd like to close our session today. Just what advice would you give to a young entrepreneur, someone that is just starting to explore this avenue? What's the one thing that they could do to guarantee that they succeed?
Well, I have to correct you in one word. Guarantee doesn't exist. Okay. But certainty could exist, which is a different word, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the certainty of conviction. And I say to them, I mentored a lot of young entrepreneurs, and I say, if you really want to do it, we first have to kind of dig deep in you to understand what drives you. Because you have to understand when you're going on to entrepreneurship journey, you have to be a little bit like what we talked about. You have to accept that there's so many trials and tribulations, right? And a lot of very young guys and girls don't necessarily know that yet. They, I've seen the Lion's Den and Løvens Hule is so glamorous. there's no glamour about entrepreneurship. It's bloody hard work, right? But it's also super fun. So do you want to work really hard? And I do say to them is that, do you understand? When I say work really hard, I mean, you say, Elon Musk is one of your heroes. Okay, well, you probably work like 80 hours a week. And I'm not saying you should work 80 hours a week. And I don't expect my people to do that. But I can tell you, if you are the founder or a founding team, it's not a 9-to-5 job. It literally is all consuming because you have to think about so many things all the time. And that means that in the first 3-4 years, you have to literally live and breathe this 24/7. So that is the thing, is that I want you to understand, can you do that? Do you want to do that? Looking into yourself and maybe get nothing out of the end except an amazing journey, right? Because obviously entrepreneurship and startup, 9 out of 10 of the startups will never pass 3 years. So you also have to understand that it might be a journey of many failures, but it is a journey where you're just building on and say, okay, that's fine, brush it off, take your stakeholders with you, and investors, don't mind. My first investor said, have you had a failure in your previous business life? Have you had a business that was bankrupt or whatever? I said, sure. Great. I would never invest in someone that hasn't. It's just that because you have to have all these failures. It's the only way it happens. So I kind of say to the young guns, look deep and understand what the journey takes, and then get lots of help. Reach out to your network and ask for help all the time. Get help, get help, get help. But understand that those that helps you are part of your journey. Be super humble about it and share. I have a small portion of shares in Moneyflow because I give them out to everyone that helps. And it's just my philosophy. I don't need to have the biggest proportion or whatever. No. You are on a journey, right? And you need a whole team of stakeholders, employees, investors, advisors, whatever, and they are all helping you on that journey. And you just share the wealth with everyone, or maybe wealth not, because most likely there will be no wealth, but you are sharing because it's a journey thing. So you have to be humble, you have to share, you have to ask for help, and you have to work really, really hard, and you have to look deep because you constantly have to do this. There's no other way.
And maybe just one last thought to close. Just listening to you describe your journey and what entrepreneurship is for you, you almost describe it as a calling.
Yeah, I mean, it could probably, there's probably a bit of seal around it, isn't it? Because, you have to be, and I feel it. I really do feel it. It's like it's something I have to do. But I think it's more an energy thing. It's not that, I want to have the biggest embedded finance company because then I'm going to get adulation from the world. No, not at all. What that does, this creation process creates like an amazing energy feedback loop to me. It energizes me. It makes me curious. I jump out of bed, the guy's saying, wow, you're up at 5. Yeah, sure, I got things to do. I jump in my sauna, I do things, it just gives me lots of energy, the creational process. And I understand that is my feedback. Not all that other stuff that happens out there. That happens per automation if you do things right, but that in itself creates energy for me. So it's not really a calling, it's just understanding who I am as a core person and just giving that fuel, really, more than anything. And dropping out of big business where I was when I was younger, because it was classical Atlantis and L'Oreal, very, very big business, lots of politics. They always say, get Kim Ulf into the room, he will say it as it is. And I just said after 6 years, guys, I'm gonna do my own stuff, and the guys just said, yeah, we knew you would go, So energy, yeah, it gives me energy. Calling, yeah, I guess it is a kind of a calling in a way. I have never really thought about it like that, Chris. That's a good question. I need to think about that.
All right. Well,
I'll ping you an email.
Please do.
Or text.
Kim Ulf, thank you so much for your time. It's really inspiring hearing you, and I'm sure our audience would enjoy it as well. So
great to see you again.
Great talking to you again.
So have a good day.
Thank you very much.